What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we actually have some more good news. Touched on this a little bit yesterday, talked about how food inflation is going to start to come down soon, talked about rents and how a lot of rents and leases are actually expiring, which means landlords are going to try to lock in another lease. Here's the thing, rents are actually coming down, which means we could see landlords lock in lower rents. That's good news. So I want to explain why this is good news. It doesn't matter if you own your piece of property, if you are renting something, it doesn't matter, okay? It does not matter where you live or what you live in. This will impact every single one of us. So if you're ready for the good news regarding inflation and the US economy, do me one favor, it just takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's begin. So here's what we know. Inflation is going to drop. We know this is going to happen. The Federal Reserve has made it their priority to bring inflation back down. It's currently sitting at 6%. That's too high. But it is lower than what it was at 9.1% back in June. So that's good news there. Here's what I can tell you. Inflation is going to fall as a result of two things. Okay, homes, right? Real estate and rent. Those are the two things that are starting to just plummet. Here's what I can tell you. Shelter, and this is the main reason why inflation is going to fall and it's going to drop quickly, is because shelter makes up more than 1/3 of the CPI report. So you know that number, the headline number, 6% inflation, everybody freaks out. Guess what? 1/3 of that is weighted on shelter alone. That's it. Shelter. And here's the thing. We have seen shelter continue to increase. Now it's gone up by, I think, 0.7% last month, and it was month over month, but it's still fairly high. Okay, if you annualize that number, 7% month over month, that comes up to 8.4% year over year. That's too high. We want to get that number down to 2%, or at least that's what the Federal Reserve is telling us. Well, here's what we know. Being that around the country, shelter inflation has increased just 8.1% since last year. Effective rents have already started falling 76% of the housing markets across the US. We're starting to see them fall. Okay? Again, we're starting to see them fall. They haven't fallen completely just yet. They have actually fallen about 1% nationwide. This is big. It's only 1%. And we are seeing inflation come down. But once we see the market collapse, once we see real estate and homes, the prices drop 5, 10, maybe 25%, it's going to send rentals into the ground as well. Okay? Now, the majority of people here on this channel do not own real estate. They are either renting or they're leasing land, for their home or whatever. That's fine. I want to explain why this is a big, big deal. The problem with the upcoming CPI numbers is that essentials are likely to still go up. This is food, this is energy, things like that. And for lower income households, we would spend the majority of our income on rent. We'd spend it on food, on utilities, things like that. So even though the headline number for CPI, and whether it's core, which is excluding food and energy, or it's the headline number, we're going to see it come down. That's good news. The problem is the things that you are spending money on might not be coming down as quickly. Now, why do I say this is good news though? Well, the reason why this is good news, that we are starting to see inflation come down and rents are going to just plummet this number, is because for us, as a human being, when we see we have, let's say, $10,000 in the bank, we may not feel rich, but when we see our home prices and we see the equity in our house, or we see rents are coming down, we feel like we have more money because we're not looking at savings. We're looking at equity. We're looking at our net worth. Okay? That's what we're looking at. Here's the thing. As your net worth starts to fall, as home prices start to come down and your net worth is starting to shrink, and it doesn't matter if you are you only make $50,000 a year or $250,000 per year. When you see your net worth shrink and it declines, guess what happens? We stop spending money. This means we don't go buy the new car. We don't take that lavish vacation to Turks and Caicos. We don't do those things. We don't renovate the kitchen. All right? We don't put in an in-ground swimming pool. Those are not things that we do. We conserve. We save money. So this is why this is really good news. As we see the economy dip into that recession, we are going to see more Americans conserve, stop spending money. They're going to save. They're going to pay off debt. They're going to try to make extra money. That's what we're going to do. Now, the reason why I bring all this up right now is because there's something else that's actually going to cause inflation to stay somewhat high for the probably next 3 to 6 months, but then it's going to fall. Here's what we know. According to the report just earlier on this week, it stated that OPEC Plus is cutting its oil production by 2%. It's 1.6 million barrels of oil per day. Now, this is going to start in May. This is when we are going to see the majority of Americans travel, take vacations, and things like that, starting in May, June, July, August. You get the idea. But this is going to contribute to higher costs. It's both food, energy, everything is going to go up because oil is going to get more expensive. Here's the thing. This is actually good news because this is something that's outside the US, right? OPEC Plus. But consider this. What happens when we fill that void? We fill that gap. Well, prices are going to come down. What happens at the end of the summer? Well, we stop traveling. We go back to school, people go back to work, or a lot of people continue to work throughout the summer, but you get the idea. And so because of these things, towards the end of the year, we are going to see prices plummet. Okay? I want to be very clear on that. All economists predict that a recession is right around the corner. So you have a recession. Okay? We have a decrease in spending towards the end of the summer. We have oil prices will most likely stabilize towards the end of the summer as well. Hopefully, we don't have a debt ceiling or debt limit crisis. But if all these things can fall into place, these dominoes just keep falling, this will actually be good news for the American people because, and even though a recession is not good news, it's going to bring down inflation. That is the big worry. Not a recession. We know a recession's coming. But can we dip into a recession, bring down inflation, we don't lose millions and millions of jobs, and we can work our way out of this? The answer is yes. According to economists, we are in a perfect situation, excluding the banking crisis and obviously some real estate. The commercial real estate's gonna crash and gonna hit us hard. But outside of some of those things, we'll be fine. We'll be fine as long as we've been preparing and we understand it's going to get rough before it gets completely better. So, just wanted to fill you in on that because I know a lot of people are wondering, well, is this good news? If we see the housing market completely collapse? Well, it's not going to completely collapse, but when it does crash, it will be good news to those renters, and good news to those renters will also mean good news to everybody else because inflation is going to drop following all that stuff as well. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.